Hello, this is Daniel. You're listening to English Unlocked. Today we are talking about something very real, something most people think about, but rarely say out loud. These are quiet thoughts, private thoughts, the kind of thoughts that come when you're alone. You don't usually share them, not because they are wrong, but because they feel personal. Today's topic is things we don't say out loud. Let's slow down. You don't need to repeat anything. You don't need to remember everything. Just listen. Many people have the same thoughts, even if their lives look very different. Sometimes you wake up and think, I don't really know what I'm doing. You don't say it to anyone. You get up. You continue your day, but the thought is there. Sometimes you look at other people and think, they seem so confident. And then another thought comes, I don't feel like that. You don't say it. You smile. You act normal. These thoughts are common. People often think, I should be further in life. I should know more. I should feel stronger. The word should appears a lot, but no one really talks about it. When something doesn't go well, you might think, maybe I'm not good enough. You don't say it out loud. You keep it inside. Inside thoughts can feel heavy when they stay alone for too long. That's why it helps to hear them spoken calmly, slowly, without judgment. Here's another quiet thought many people have. I'm afraid of making mistakes. This thought stops people from speaking English, from trying new things, from being themselves. But mistakes are part of real life. Everyone makes them. Another thought. I don't want to disappoint anyone. This thought appears at work, in relationships, in learning. People say yes when they want to say no. They stay quiet when they want to speak, not because they don't know what to say, but because they are afraid of the reaction. And then there is this thought, I need a break. A very simple sentence, but often unspoken. People keep going. They keep pushing. But the thought stays in the background. All these thoughts are human. They are normal. They are part of real life. And real life English includes these thoughts. Not perfect sentences. Not big words. Just honest language. We'll continue gently. One thought at a time. Some thoughts don't arrive suddenly. They come slowly. During quiet moments, when you're walking alone, when you're waiting, when you're lying in bed at night. One very common thought is this, I don't feel confident. People rarely say it. They say, I'm fine. I'm okay. I'm good. But inside, the feeling is different. Confidence is not something you wake up with one day. It grows slowly, and most people feel unsure more often than they admit. Another quiet thought is, I'm scared people will judge me. This thought appears when you speak English, when you share an opinion, when you want to try something new. Judgment feels heavy, even when it's only imagined. So people stay quiet. They choose safe words. They don't take risks. But silence can also feel heavy. Sometimes people think, I want to change my life, but I don't know how. This thought doesn't have a clear answer, and that's uncomfortable. So it stays unspoken. Change feels big, and big things can feel overwhelming. Another thought many people have is, I'm tired of pretending. Pretending to be strong. Pretending to be motivated. pretending to have everything under control. Real life is not like that. Real life is messy. Real life is uncertain. Real life is quiet most of the time. And the English people use in real life reflects that. People say things like, "I'm not sure." "I need some time." "I'm figuring things out." These are honest sentences. Simple sentences. You don't need advanced vocabulary to express real thoughts. Another quiet thought. "I don't feel like myself today." This happens to everyone. Mood changes. Energy changes. And that's okay. Real-life English includes softness. It includes pauses. It includes uncertainty. You don't always need to sound confident. You don't always need to sound sure. Sometimes saying, "I don't know," is the most honest thing. When you hear these thoughts spoken calmly, they lose some of their weight. They don't feel so personal anymore. You realize, "I'm not alone in this." And that feeling matters. We'll keep going slowly, letting these thoughts exist, without trying to fix them. Just noticing. Just listening. Some thoughts come back again and again, even when life looks calm on the outside. One of these thoughts is, "Am I enough?" People rarely say this sentence. It feels too personal, too vulnerable, but it appears quietly, especially when you compare yourself to others. You see people online. You hear about their success, and a small voice inside says, "They are doing better than me." Comparison is a quiet habit. It happens without effort, and it creates another unspoken thought. "I'm behind." This thought can feel heavy, like time is moving faster than you are. But real life does not move in straight lines. People grow at different speeds, in different directions. Another quiet thought many people have is, "I don't want to disappoint anyone." This thought appears when you say yes, even when you feel no. It appears when you stay silent, to keep the peace. People want to be kind. They want to be liked. They want to be accepted. So they hide what they really feel. But hiding feelings takes energy. Sometimes people think, "I wish someone understood me," without me explaining everything. This thought is soft, almost sad. It comes from the need to be seen, without effort. In real conversations, people don't always explain deeply. They use simple words. They say, "It's been a long day." "I have a lot on my mind." "I'm not in the mood." These sentences say a lot, even though they are short. Another thought that stays quiet is, "I don't feel motivated." Motivation is often expected. People talk about it like it should always be there. But real-life motivation comes and goes. Some days you feel strong. Some days you feel empty. And that's normal. You don't need big words to express these feelings. Real-life English is simple, honest, direct. It doesn't hide behind perfect grammar. It says what is real. In the moment, hearing these thoughts spoken out loud can feel comforting. It reminds you that English is not only about rules, it's about expression, about saying what is true for you, even when it's quiet. We'll continue gently, letting these thoughts unfold, one by one. No pressure, no conclusion yet, just space. Some thoughts don't sound dramatic. They sound very simple, but they stay with you for a long time. One of these thoughts is, I don't feel like myself anymore. People don't usually explain this feeling. They don't always understand it themselves. Life changes. Routines change. Responsibilities grow. And somewhere along the way, people feel a little disconnected from who they were. They still function. They still smile. They still do what is expected. But inside, something feels distant. Another quiet thought is, I miss something, but I don't know what. This feeling appears in quiet moments, when everything is fine, but not fulfilling. It's not sadness. It's not unhappiness. It's more like a question. Without words, people don't say it out loud, because there is no clear answer. So the thought stays inside. There is also this thought, I'm trying my best. People rarely say this sentence honestly. They feel like it sounds weak, like an excuse. But in real life, trying your best looks different every day. Some days, your best is energy. Some days, your best is rest. And both are valid. Another unspoken thought is, I wish I could slow down. The world moves fast. People expect quick answers, quick decisions, quick progress. But the body doesn't always move that way. The mind doesn't either. So people keep going, even when they feel tired inside. And then there is this quiet sentence, I don't want to be perfect. This thought appears after pressure, after comparison, after trying too hard. Perfection sounds good, but it feels heavy. Real life is not perfect. Real conversations are not perfect. People pause. They change their words. They say, I mean. Or what I want to say is. This is natural English. This is how people really speak. When you listen to English like this, it feels more human, less sharp, less demanding. You don't have to sound confident all the time. You don't have to sound certain. Sometimes saying, I'm still figuring it out, is enough. These quiet thoughts don't need solutions. They need space. And hearing them spoken calmly creates that space. We are not here to fix anything. We are here to notice, to let real language exist, without judgment. We'll keep going, slowly and gently. Some thoughts appear when everything becomes quiet, not during conversations, not during busy moments. They come when you finally stop. One of these thoughts is, I don't know what I really want. This thought doesn't feel urgent. It feels slow, almost tired. People often expect clear answers from themselves, clear goals, clear plans. But real life is not always clear. Many people move forward without knowing exactly where they are going, and that can feel uncomfortable. Another quiet thought is, I'm afraid of wasting time. This thought appears when you rest, when you pause, when you do nothing. The world teaches us that rest is unproductive, that movement is always better. But rest is part of living. Without rest, everything becomes noise. Sometimes people think, I should be more grateful. This thought sounds positive, but it can feel heavy. Gratitude should feel natural, not forced. You can be grateful and still feel tired. You can be thankful and still want change. Both things can exist at the same time. Another unspoken thought is, I don't feel ready. This appears before new steps, before changes, before speaking up, People wait to feel ready. But readiness doesn't always arrive first. Sometimes action comes before confidence. And sometimes doing nothing is also a choice. People rarely say that out loud. They say, "I'm busy. I'll do it later. I need more time." But inside, the feeling is simple. I'm not ready yet. Real-life English includes these moments. It includes hesitation. It includes pauses. It includes sentences that stop in the middle. People say, "I was thinking." "Well, I don't know." It's hard to explain. This is not weak English. This is honest English. Listening to language like this helps you feel less alone. You hear that uncertainty is part of communication. That clarity is not always necessary. Sometimes connection comes from shared confusion, from shared silence, and that's okay. You don't need to resolve these thoughts tonight. You don't need answers. Just hearing them can be enough. We'll continue gently, letting the language stay real, soft, and human. Some thoughts don't sound negative. They don't sound sad. They sound very quiet. One of these thoughts is, "I just want things to feel easier." People don't usually say this out loud. It sounds too simple, too honest. But life often feels heavy, even when nothing is clearly wrong. Responsibilities add up. Expectations grow. And the mind rarely gets rest. Another quiet thought is, "I don't want to explain myself anymore." This appears after many conversations, after many justifications, after trying to be understood. People get tired of explaining why they feel a certain way, why they need space, why they need time. So they stay quiet. Silence becomes easier than explanation. There is also this thought, "I wish I could start over." Not in a dramatic way, not with regret, just a soft wish for a clean moment, a fresh feeling, a reset. People don't talk about this because it sounds unrealistic, but the feeling is common. Starting over doesn't always mean changing everything. Sometimes it means changing how you speak to yourself. Another unspoken thought is, "I'm doing more than people see." This thought comes when effort goes unnoticed, when progress is slow, when results are invisible. People keep going anyway. They show up. They try. They adjust. But they don't announce it. Real-life effort is quiet. Another thought that appears often is, "I don't want to rush anymore." Rushing becomes a habit. Even rest feels rushed. People eat fast. They talk fast. They think fast. And somewhere inside, they want to slow down. Real-life English includes this desire. People say, "I need to slow things down." "I don't want to rush." "I'm taking my time." These are calm sentences. They don't push. They don't demand. They simply state a feeling. Hearing English used this way makes it feel less sharp, less like a task, more like a tool for saying what is real. Without decoration. You don't need dramatic words to express real life. You need honesty and space. We are creating that space here. No pressure to respond. No pressure to decide. Just listening. Just noticing. The language stays gentle. The thoughts stay human. We continue, slowly. Some thoughts arrive quietly at the end of the day, when everything is done, when there is nothing left to prove. One of these thoughts is, I did what I could today. It doesn't sound ambitious. It doesn't sound impressive, but it carries relief. People often expect more from themselves, more energy, more progress, more strength. And when the day ends, they review everything they didn't do. But this quiet sentence appears softly. I did what I could. Another unspoken thought is, I'm learning, even when it doesn't show. This thought is important. Learning is not always visible. Growth is not always loud. Sometimes it happens in silence, in repetition, in patience. Just like listening to English like this. You may not feel progress immediately, but familiarity is building, and familiarity changes how things feel. Another quiet thought is, I don't need approval right now. People often look for signs, likes, answers, reactions, but sometimes approval feels unnecessary. You don't need permission to feel tired, to slow down, to take your time. Real-life English includes this independence. People say, I'm okay with this. I don't need an answer right now. I'm fine as it is. These sentences are calm. They don't ask. They don't explain. They simply exist. Another thought appears when you stop judging yourself. I'm allowed to be in progress. Not finished. Not perfect. Just moving. This thought brings ease. It removes urgency. It removes pressure. And pressure is what makes things feel heavy. When pressure fades, the mind relaxes again. English sounds softer. Thoughts feel lighter. You may notice now that there is less effort in listening. Words come and go. Meaning drifts. This is fine. You are not losing anything. You are settling into it. Learning doesn't always feel active. Sometimes it feels like resting inside sound. And that kind of learning stays. You don't need to respond. You don't need to repeat. Just let the sound be here. We are still moving gently, without pushing, without hurry. As the rhythm stays slow, the mind doesn't try to organize anything anymore. It doesn't label thoughts as good or bad. It doesn't look for meaning. It simply allows everything to pass. This is when things feel lighter. One quiet thought that appears here is, I don't need to have everything figured out. People often believe they should know what they want, where they're going, who they are becoming. But real life rarely works that way. Understanding comes in pieces, not all at once, and that is okay. Another unspoken thought is, I'm allowed to change my mind. This thought feels freeing. People grow. People shift. What felt right once may feel different later. Changing your mind is not failure. It's awareness. Real-life English reflects this softness. People say, I thought I wanted that, but now I'm not sure. I feel different about it now. I've changed a bit. These are natural sentences. They don't defend. They don't explain too much. They simply state truth. Another quiet thought appears when comparison fades. I'm on my own timeline. This thought brings calm. It removes urgency. It removes pressure to catch up. You don't need to move faster, just because others do. Your pace is allowed. Learning English works the same way. There is no correct speed, no deadline. You absorb what you're ready for, and that readiness changes. Sometimes you listen actively, sometimes passively. Both matter. Another thought that comes gently is, I don't need to prove myself tonight. Night is not for proving. It's for resting. Rest allows clarity to return, without force. When the mind feels safe, it opens naturally. English becomes less foreign, less distant. It feels closer, more familiar. That familiarity is what stays with you. After listening, not exact sentences, not rules, but a feeling. And feelings last longer than words. We stay here a little longer, without rushing forward, just letting the language exist, alongside you. As the quiet continues, the mind becomes softer with itself. There is less judgment, less checking, less asking, am I doing this right? In this space, another quiet thought appears. I don't need to rush my healing. People often rush improvement. They rush confidence. They rush change. But real healing is slow. And slow things last. You don't fix yourself overnight. You don't suddenly become confident. You grow into it. And growing takes time. Another unspoken thought is, I'm allowed to feel what I feel. This sounds simple, but many people don't allow it. They push feelings away. They replace them with distractions. They stay busy. But feelings don't disappear when ignored. They wait. Listening quietly creates space for feelings to exist without pressure. And that space is gentle. Real-life English includes this honesty. People say, I don't know how I feel yet. I need time to process this. It's a lot right now. These sentences don't solve anything, but they acknowledge reality. And acknowledgement is calming. Another thought comes when you stop comparing yourself. I'm not broken. This thought doesn't shout. It whispers. It comes after long periods of self-doubt. After trying to fix everything, you realize there was nothing to fix, only things to understand. Learning English is similar. You're not bad at English. You're not slow. You're learning in your own way. Listening like this is not passive. It's receptive. And receptivity is powerful. You allow the language to come to you, instead of chasing it. That changes the relationship. English becomes a companion, not a task, a presence, not a problem. As you stay with the sound, everything feels less urgent. There is no need to reach a conclusion, no need to finish a thought. You are allowed to be unfinished. That's part of being human. We stay in this calm space, letting the language move gently. No pressure, no expectation, just continuation. As the calm deepens, the mind stops looking for answers. It no longer asks, what should I do next? What does this mean? Instead, it rests inside the moment. And in this moment, another quiet thought appears. I don't need to be strong all the time. People admire strength. They talk about it often. But strength is tiring when it never rests. Real life includes softness. It includes moments of weakness, moments of uncertainty. And that doesn't make you less capable. It makes you human. Another unspoken thought is, I want to feel safe being myself. This thought is gentle. It doesn't demand change. It simply asks for space. space to speak slowly, space to pause, space to not have the right words. Real conversations allow this. People hesitate. They search for words. They say, "Let me think for a second." That is real English. You don't need to sound confident, to sound natural. Another quiet realization comes with time. I don't have to explain everything. Some things are allowed to stay private. Some feelings don't need to be shared. And that's okay. You choose when to speak. You choose when to stay quiet. Language is a tool, not a rule. Listening to English in this calm way teaches this naturally. You hear how pauses feel normal, how unfinished sentences feel human. Nothing is rushed. Nothing is forced. Another thought surfaces gently. I'm allowed to enjoy learning. Not because it's useful, not because it's productive, but because it feels good. Enjoyment removes pressure, and pressure is what blocks learning. When enjoyment is present, the mind stays open. Words don't bounce off. They settle. Even now, you may notice that listening feels easier than before, not because you're trying harder, but because you're trying less. That's the shift. Learning becomes something that happens to you, not something you do. And that kind of learning stays. We remain here, inside this quiet flow. No rush to finish. No need to arrive. Just calm continuation. As the quiet stretches on, the mind feels less busy with itself. There is no need to perform, no need to impress, no need to reach a conclusion. In this space, another quiet thought appears. I can be gentle with myself. This thought doesn't come loudly. It comes softly, almost like a permission you didn't know you needed. Many people speak kindly to others, but harshly to themselves. They expect more. They judge faster. They forgive slower. Gentleness changes that. Gentleness doesn't mean giving up. It means allowing progress to happen naturally. Another unspoken thought is, I don't need to compare my inside to someone else's outside. People compare silently all the time. They see confidence. They see success. They see calm. But they don't see doubts. They don't see fear. They don't see quiet struggles. Real-life English includes this understanding. People say, I'm working through it. I'm taking it one step at a time. I'm doing my best right now. These sentences are not excuses. They are honesty. Another gentle realization comes with rest. I can trust the process. Trust doesn't arrive suddenly. It grows slowly. It grows when you stop forcing outcomes. When you stop measuring everything. Learning English works the same way. You don't need to feel progress every day. You don't need proof tonight. Familiarity builds quietly. One sentence at a time. One sound at a time. As you continue listening, you may notice a feeling of ease. Not excitement. Not achievement. Just ease. Ease means the mind is open. And an open mind learns naturally. Nothing is required from you now. You don't need to focus. You don't need to respond. You're allowed to simply exist with the sound. This is not wasted time. This is integration. Language becomes part of your inner world. Without effort. We stay here a little longer, letting everything remain soft and unforced. No hurry. No pressure. Just quiet presence. As the mind stays calm, There is a feeling of space inside. Not empty space. Comfortable space. In this space, another quiet thought appears. I don't need to push myself tonight. Pushing belongs to daytime, to goals, to expectations. Night is different. Night allows things to settle. Without effort. You don't push sleep. You allow it. Learning can be the same. Another unspoken thought is, I'm allowed to slow down my thinking. Thinking often runs fast, from one idea to another. But slowing thought doesn't mean losing clarity. It often creates it. When thoughts slow, they become softer, less demanding. Real-life English follows this rhythm. People speak slower when they feel safe. They pause. They choose simple words. They say, I just need a moment. I want to think about it. I'm not rushing this. These sentences carry calm. Another quiet realization appears here. I don't need to have the right words. Many people stop speaking English because they search for perfect sentences. But real communication is not perfect. People change words mid-sentence. They restart. They laugh at mistakes. That is real language. Listening to English in this calm way helps you feel that. It removes fear. It removes urgency. Another thought surfaces gently. I can learn by listening. You don't always need to speak. You don't always need to respond. Listening is active, even when it feels passive. Your mind hears structure. It hears rhythm. It learns what sounds natural. This happens quietly, without effort. As you continue, English feels less like a subject and more like a sound you recognize. Recognition creates comfort, and comfort allows learning to stay. Nothing is required of you right now. You can let the sound fade in and out. You can drift. You can rest. The language will remain present, doing its quiet work. We stay here together, moving gently, without pressure. If you want to continue, just stay with the sound. As the sound stays steady, there is a sense of quiet continuity. Nothing new needs to happen. Nothing needs to change. And in this stillness, another quiet thought appears. I'm allowed to arrive slowly. People often feel late in life. Late to understand. Late to start. Late to feel confident. But life doesn't work on one clock. Some things grow quickly. Others take time. And taking time doesn't mean you are behind. Another unspoken thought is, I don't need to catch up with anyone. This thought brings relief. There is no race happening here. No comparison needed. Learning English is not a competition. It's a relationship. A relationship grows through presence, not pressure. Another gentle realization follows. I can listen without effort. You don't need to analyze grammar. You don't need to translate. Your mind already knows how to recognize patterns. It has done this before. It will do it again. That's why listening like this feels different. It feels calm. It feels natural. Real-life English doesn't arrive as rules. It arrives as familiarity. You hear how sentences flow, how pauses sound normal, how silence is part of communication. Another quiet thought comes when tension fades. I don't have to control this. Control creates tension. Tension blocks absorption. Letting go opens space. And space allows language to settle. You might notice now. That English feels less distant, not because you understand everything, but because it feels closer, closer to how people really speak, closer to how thoughts really sound. That closeness matters. It builds confidence quietly, without forcing it. You don't need to finish this experience. You don't need to remember it. What stays is the feeling, and that feeling continues. Even after the sound ends, we remain here gently, allowing everything to move at its own pace. No rush forward. No need to stop. Just calm continuation. As this moment comes to a close, there is nothing you need to take with you. No sentence to remember. No idea to hold on to. Everything that mattered has already settled quietly. You listened. You stayed present. You allowed English to exist, without pressure. And that is enough. Real-life English doesn't need effort. It doesn't need force. It becomes familiar when it is allowed to be part of your life. Tonight, English was not a task. It was a background, a calm presence, a quiet companion. You heard how language sounds when it is human, imperfect, gentle. That familiarity will stay with you longer than rules or explanations. You can return to this space anytime, when you need calm, when you need rest, when you want English to feel natural again. This is English Unlocked. Real-life English, spoken slowly and clearly. I'm Daniel. Thank you for listening. Take care.